Thank you, Mishan Bhai, for inviting me. Just wanted to point out a few things. Just bear with me. Let me get my bearings straight. Sorry. Yep, that's okay. Okay. So thank you, Brother Misam and Brother Ali Jafri. Thank you very much. Very informative, and that's raised a lot more questions in everybody's mind, especially in my mind, in regards to how we go about running our idaras, our organizations, and how can we better be in line with the legislation that is out there and that is required. And Alhamdulillah, by the grace of God, and for the sake of Amal Tahireen, we've been protected. I'm not sure how, but we've been just been hidden from sight. But that has given us opportunity to get these policies in place, get some training in place. What's happened, I've found over the years with my visits and interactions with the organizations, is that a lot of intellectuals, if you want to call them, or a lot of people who are professional, have are not taking part in the management side of organizations, so which is a bit of a downfall because it needs actual organizing. A lot of issues need highlighting and they need addressing. So this is where the child safeguarding policy comes in. This was published in 2017, and it was handed out to a lot of organizations through MUS, and it is still available online. I've just checked today on the website. You can download it, and it is. When I was putting this together, I spoke with Sayyid Ali Rizvi, and I highlighted the issues and concerns that I had, where we as a individual, organization, institution, and sorry, I apologize, because I give these lots of these talks. So let me just clarify. When I say organization, institution, idara, masjid, imam barga, I mean collectively one thing. So I do get the terminology mixed up now and then, but I mean just our mosques. That's what it basically means. And I highlighted that none of the organizations under the umbrella of MUS have these policies in place, and the government seems to be cracking down or looking to crack down and make these very strict policies and to adhere to. And I got the go-ahead from Sayyid Ali Rizvi. So I spent about 2 or 3 years researching everything that we could include and help our organizations out. So what I had done with this book, which is available, by the way, online, if you go into the MUS shop, and I'm sure Brother Misum will maybe type in the address and the website address where they can actually go shop for this. So it's available. I made this very, very, very easy to read and very interesting read. And you can just pick it up and read it in an afternoon if you wished. And before we start the presentation, I just want to get a quick overview of who my audience are. So are we, are people, are decision makers here from organizations? Or are you teachers? Are you in the organization, or are you the organization yourself? So if you can give me a quick hands up, if somebody or people here are decision makers in the organizations. Just a quick hand up. Any kind of reaction would be good.
So maybe I can call names and you can give a very quick.
No. Yeah. If you want to give a brief introduction to yourself, that'd be helpful. It just I have to tailor the presentation to yourself then.
Okay, let's start with brother who raised hands. Muhammad Amir Saklan.
Yes, I think you know me, Jawwad. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
So yeah, trustee of Zainabia Reading, former head of the madrasa there.
Thank you. Ali Jafri, I think we know him. Adnan Hussain.
Yeah, so I'm a teacher at the madrasa of Barbara Murad Center. So
okay.
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a decision maker, but maybe I could have some sort of influence, possibly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Next one on the list is Ismat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum.
I am Ismat. I am from Baitul Khan Madrasa. I am the safeguarding lead and a teacher in Madrasa.
Mashallah.
And I am an offset inspector working for the government as well.
Excellent.
Jazakallah.
Okay. Abid Farshori. We can move to Insia Khan.
Hello, assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Insia Khan. I'm from Husseini Islamic Mission. I wouldn't say I'm a decision maker, but I'm the president for the Youth Society of Husseini Islamic Mission, so I might have a say in the decision.
Okay. I've got iPhone, but there's no name, just says iPhone. Okay. Who is iPhone? Who is labeled as iPhone? Lali Ansari.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. I'm a volunteer at a very new supplementary school. It's kind of a Sunday school targeting 6 to 11-year-olds. And so I'm here to learn more about the things that we need and yeah, has to go forward.
Okay. Masuma Zadi.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a teacher at Idara Jafriya Saturday School.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Salma Hussain.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a member of the executive board for Al Zahra Foundation Nottingham, and I'm also the administrator. So I have quite a bit of leaning, but I'm not a decision maker.
Thank you. Samana Zadi.
Assalamu alaikum. I am from Al Zahra Foundation in Nottingham as well. So I'm a lead in youth group and as well as in madrasa. So yes, a bit of decision making here.
Thank you. And Zainab Rizvi.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Zainab. I'm part of the admin team from Idara Jafriya, and also with Neymar Rizvi, who's also part of the admin team. So we're part of the decision making, but not entirely.
Excellent. That's great.
Thank you.
That's everybody
Missed
covered.
anyone? Yeah, I think so. Apart from the one who was labeled iPhone.
That's fine.
That's fine. I think it's fine.
Fine. Okay. So what I will do, because of a few decision makers and influencers are here, I will flip my presentation around. If I can share with you, bear with me. Go all the way to the bottom where I just wanted to show you this, is that this is what is needed in our idaras and which we don't have. Can everybody see this? Okay. So what's happening right now is, or what's happening in the past is, we've had a one-man show, and unfortunately, if anything goes wrong in regards to the behavior of the teacher or the volunteer, or something goes wrong with the food, or a speaker comes to the premises and speaks something that is not liked by the government, or any of the cleaning products are out in public display, not safety, or legislation, something happens with legislation, the whole organization will get shut down. So what I was really pushing for, and every time I visit an organization, I preach about this, that you need to have a hierarchy in place, and that puts barriers, and it opens doors and also closes doors where how far something can go. So just to give you an idea, cleaning products. If by mistake, and God forbid this happens, where we have lots of open doors policies within the idaras, and one of the cupboards has been left open, and there's some bleach or any harmful products, detergents there, and a child does something or is harmed by this product, and what will happen without the hierarchy in place is that the whole organization will get shut down, because you don't have any procedures in place. So what I was suggesting to every single organization is to put an hierarchy in place. So what would happen here is, if you can see this, if the cleaning products are on left unguarded and something happens to a child, the caretaker is responsible. So the caretaker, who is hide the caretaker, is a principal, and who is principal in answerable to the vice president, and the vice president is answered to the president. So we put all these barriers in place where it safeguards the ultimate organization. So if you can, and you are a decision maker or you're an influencer, I would heavily strongly advise you to put something like this in place where the whole institution is safeguarded. And if I can come back to myself for a second, what will happen here is, and you've heard, and you may have heard news in the other organizations, other sects or other religions, a lot of things go wrong, but it doesn't close anything. Somebody gets a slap on the wrist, somebody gets laid off, somebody gets reprimanded or disciplinary, and the institution carries on. This is what I wanted to implement with all of our Shia organizations within UK, and inshallah we will. And so this is something to look towards from a starting point. And if we were to go back to the presentation again, whereas the child safeguarding policy was concerned, let me go back to the beginning. So what is a child safeguarding policy? Child safeguarding policy is a system of preventative measures that collectively ensure the safety of well-being of a child or a young person during activities, group activities. And there are two elements to look at from here. Number one is something that goes wrong within the organization, which we must be mindful of completely, because that is our responsibility. Secondly, what the government was proposing was that because you're in touch, you are in touch with the child and you see them maybe once or twice a week, if you see any signs of abuse, you are to report that to the government, which is also important. This also is extremely important because obviously these children are the children of the community, and maybe we don't like to pry into their backgrounds or into their family and stuff. But if you can actually see that there's something seriously wrong, it needs to be highlighted. We could save a life this way. So the whole purpose of this policies framework was to save lives. And it's not just actual physical. And this book, alhamdulillah, it highlights all aspects of abuse. So it's not just physical that you can see or I can see, it's mental abuse, and the signs are for that. And this highlights, the book highlights everything in there. So it is a well worth read, and I would recommend any teacher. And just to let you know, I teach online at the moment because of COVID, but before COVID, we run a Sunday school which is called Imam Mehdi Organization, and I'm also a trustee of Imam Organization in Nelson as well. And collectively, we have close to about 200 children coming in over the weekend to be taught. So we treat these children as our own. And before I started teaching, one of the very learned scholars spoke to me, and he said that unless you have the compassion of a parent, you cannot become a teacher in this field. So I took that on board, and alhamdulillah, it is, you see things differently. It's not, obviously none of us guys in any of the organizations are there to tick boxes or to get to the next level or get a pay raise or anything like that. We are there because we want to be there and we have a passion for it. But what the government wants to see is actual legislation in place. So if I was to, bear with me 1 second, I've got some chance. Okay. Apologies, Suklan brother. I think it takes a bit of time to cache the slide. So if I could start the presentation now. Here we go. So this book, this policies framework, it creates a complete system where it's got management and training, it's got health and safety, safe recruitment, complaints and grievance handling, codes of conduct. It's basically a management tool for the whole idara, for the whole organization. And we'll just focus today on the child safeguarding. And it is basically taking a preventative approach to promoting welfare and protecting children from harm. Every single organization, whether you teach one child or two child, or you don't teach them at all, and they only come for a Majlis or any programs, a notice board should be highlighted and visible to all and everybody who enters the premises. And this should have a statement of intent for safeguarding. And I had made this is in the booklet, and you can just copy and paste it and just put it on, print it on, and put it on that notice board. Everybody walking into the organization should be able to see this, that we are fully committed to safeguarding the welfare of all children and young people. And we recognize our responsibility to take all reasonable steps to promote safe practice and to protect children from harm, abuse, and exploitation, and so on and so on. So this statement of intent is number one, should be displayed in every idara, and as soon as you can walk in. And there, I'm sure one of the sisters said that they are a leading child safeguarding officer. Every organization should have two child safeguarding officers, one who's a lead and the other who's a deputy or a vice child safeguarding officer. And all these details, again, have been highlighted step by step within this document. So just to let you know, from people who don't understand what a child safeguarding officer is, a child safeguarding officer is a child protection. He works for Child Protection Works and children or young people. He's basically there for the safety. All institutions should have a place, have in place a child safeguarding officer who's responsible for dealing with child protection issues that may arise. A deputy child safeguarding officer must be made available in their absence. So along with that statement of intent, as soon as people walk in, these two pictures, along with names, telephone numbers, email addresses, and emergency contact numbers should be displayed. This is legislating by the government. So just to, if I was to stop this for a second. If I walk into, I'm just gonna name my idara here, I'll name my own actually. As a layperson, I walk into Imam Mahdi organization and I see something that's wrong. Who do I report? Who do I ask? I've never been there before. I'm just a visitor. There should be a visible sign, a notice board with a statement of intent and the child safeguarding officer, that anybody who sees something wrong or they have a concern, they should be able to report it to the child safeguarding officer. That's the most important thing that we should take away from here today. So let's go back to the, bear with me, there we go. So these two things should be made, should be displayed. The actual booklet I told you about, you can actually print this, and I will tell you that everybody should read this, but that comes later on. If we can just carry on with this presentation. And so this book highlights what types of abuse there are: physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, and sexual abuse. And as I was explaining earlier, these can happen within our organizations or outside the organizations. And because we're in touch with and we're in contact with these children, we must be able to pick up possible signs of abuse. So just to give you an idea, I was given a presentation in one of the organizations in I think Bolton. And I said that if a child comes in and for 3 weeks he's been coughing and nothing's been done, this is pre-COVID, obviously. I apologize. So, and nobody's done anything about it. Who is responsible? Should we not be responsible and take responsibility to save that child's life? And so it can, you know, like a simple cough can develop into a serious condition. So if we highlight these things and pick up on these signs, we may be able to save, if not physical, we should be able to take, mentally help the person out or the child out. Very good question. Mohammed Siklan, brother, has asked what are the key qualities we should look for in selection of a child safeguarding officer. The only thing I can recommend is somebody who's keen in saving lives. So it should be a Superman or a Superwoman, because they can be bombarded with questions, number one. Number two, they have to read up and be in touch with MUS, Majlis Ulama Europe, any policy changes, and they should be able to address any and every issue. So it can be a very quiet year, or it can be a very hectic year where you have to keep on top of everything. So this booklet highlights, coming back to the booklet, is that okay, Brother Siklan? Okay. So this booklet highlights all the actual signs of abuse, and then it highlights what are the side effects of the abuse, or what is it. It defines everything within the booklet. So coming back to child safeguarding officer, if something does happen and there needs to be a disclosure made where a child tells a staff member or a volunteer that they have been or are being harmed or abused in any way. So there is a procedure for disclosure, which is also mentioned step by step within this booklet. So you can just take it away, and this may be physical, sexual, emotional abuse or neglect or bullying. And recording the disclosure made by the child, it's also highlighted that how should you record these concerns from a child, any disclosure from a child or anybody who has witnessed something. So there's a template provided, and this is a template in the booklet. So you can just basically copy this and have several forms of this just in case something happens. And this booklet also tells you of how to record. You cannot be asking misleading. You can't be asking leading questions to a child because they're not in a frame of mind where they can give accurate information. So if you ask them leading questions and you are persuasive with your questioning, you can steer that conversation from being very harmless into a very serious allegation. So the recording obviously needs to be accurate and without it being leading. And then as obviously we've just discovered from Brother Ali Jafri, that how important it is for us guys to safeguard the documents that we collect. So such information must not be used to intimidate, humiliate, or embarrass the child or young person concerned or their families. So this is very important. So the child safeguarding officer must be familiar with the sort of procedure in place, which is explained in the booklet, and how to collect information and how to store information and how not to disclose it to anybody who it doesn't concern. And the disclosure may warrant an immediate action. It just depends. So he must be able to make uses his or her initiative and make decisions instantly, where if who to contact, which, and there is stated in the book, and there are, if you go on your local council borough websites, it actually states of who to contact in which situation. There is a term, it's called LADO, L-A-D-O, and that is a complete department that deals with all these issues regarding child safeguarding.
Brother Yaqoob?
Yes.
Just for your information, you talked about the LADO, but the most recent update from Ofsted is you need to go to your council, your borough, and the department you go to is the LSP.
LSP. I apologize. LSP.
No, it's not. There's nothing to be apologetic about. This came into effect on the 1st of September 2021. So that is very recent.
Very recent. Okay.
Okay. LSP stands for Local Safeguarding Partners.
Excellent.
If you would like to amend, it's LADO plus LSP.
Excellent.
Previously, this LSP was called LSCB, but it doesn't exist anymore.
Sakala sister, thank you very much for updating us.
You're very welcome.
So we have just another question. Do you believe there is information within the policy framework for the safeguarding officer to get started, or should they look for dedicated training before taking on the role formally? The booklet itself creates, obviously I've just been highlighted that it needs updating. I apologize for that. But this booklet contains enough information for anybody to get started with child safeguarding. Because do not forget, this is Brother Siklan asking the question, I think. That do not forget that most of the organizations do not have anything in place. So this is, I would say, 80 to 90% complete. It needs updating. I bear that in mind, but it's a starting point. And when the child safeguarding officer, local child safeguarding officer, feels as though they need further training or they need for me to come down, I'm happy to come down. And because this presentation that I'm giving now, it is about maybe 2 hours long, the whole presentation. It's like a training, half a day training course, where you can invite all the staff, all the volunteers, and even the management. And I can talk them step by step of what signs to look out for and what to look out, what not to look out for, and how to collect and how to adhere to government legislation. Let's carry on. So in all cases, it is vital to take whatever action is necessary to safeguard a child. And the child safeguarding officer must be familiar with, as the sister was saying, LADO or LSP. So they should know what to do and who to contact immediately, because that decision could save a life, basically. And there we have the proactive, preventative approach. So this is highlighted again, where we review and monitor all these issues and the actual faculties within. These should be faculties within any and every organization. Okay, and the proactive, preventative approach, it should include health and safety, staff safe recruitment, complaints and grievance handling, codes of conduct, review and monitoring, staff training and management. So I've cut most of this out, where we are mostly concerned with child safeguarding. So some of these may be missing, but I will tell you what's missing, what's not missing. So health and safety policy, it is the Health and Safety Work Act of 1974, and I've taken out what's relevant to our idaras, or what could be seen relevant to our idaras, our organizations that need us. So under the health and safety legislation, everyone has a legal duty of care. So anybody within the management, even the volunteer, and they only come in to sweep once a month, they still need to be trained and have gone through the actual policies framework. And health and safety policy should cover the following areas: risk assessment, registering premises, first aid, fire, insurance, hazardous substances, dealing with accidents and incidents. So this is going towards a bit more management side, but this is also included in the booklet. So we'll go back to safe recruitment, which concerns the actual teachers and volunteers. So anybody who does not have DBS in place cannot even be at the premises where children are to be. So anybody who's cleaning, and anybody who is manning the office, anybody who has keys to the premises needs to be have a disclosure in place, a DBS in place. And I'm sure if Brother Meesim can correct me, MUS is still helping organizations, right, Brother Meesim? Is that correct?
In regards to
DBS checks.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. So if your organization needs any volunteers or staff to have the DBS, MUS can step in and help with that. But everybody before starting work or even supervised work, they need to have this check in place. And also all parents want to know that their children will be safe. Nobody's questioning things. Nobody's, raising eyebrows or anything, but they need to, it's for their safety. And if an organization such as, our idaras are working towards this to ensure a better safeguarding for their children, I'm sure they'll be happy. And if it means it incurs costs, mostly the parents are always happy to pay it. So it shouldn't be a burden on anybody. And then once the whole training has been done in regards to the policies framework, and every staff member or even volunteers have read this booklet, then there's a staff declaration where they sign this off as that I understand. Bear with me 1 second, I have a question. Okay. Please, everybody, if you want to check for DBS, MUS helps that there. Okay. So this is a staff declaration, paid or unpaid or volunteers prior to commencing any work related to children, young people. So they would sign this off to say, I have name, position, signature, and data, and I have read this document, and I will comply by it. Okay. And what this ensures is that if after doing this, God forbid, let me just stop this presentation for a second. So if God forbid something does happen, I'm sure it would never happen in a million years, and God, inshallah, it won't. But if something does happen and there are some allegations made to member of staff or volunteer or anything, you as an organization are safe because you have followed this. So it is the actual individual who will get highlighted and pinpointed out, not the whole organization itself. And that comes back to the hierarchy, as I was stating earlier, that unless this is in place and an incident happens or there's some allegations made, young children, between us guys, we know and understand how times are changing. So young children are very, very impressionable. They may see something, they may hear something, they just may want a bit of attention, to be honest. And they can, just accuse somebody at their school that this happened at mosque, or to their friends or somebody who can do something about it, and that would mean the whole organization's in trouble. But if you have a signed declaration from your member of staff that they were going to adhere to this, and that person gets pinpointed out, you can just turn around and say, yes, we've done child safeguarding training, and it is the person, individual to blame, not the organization. We have done everything ourselves. And this happens on a daily basis, believe it or not, across UK. It's just that we are not equipped to, and alhamdulillah, as I was stating, started with with this, that we are, by the grace of God, we are saved and we are safe. May I just give me a second? I have a question. You can issue certificates, sister, or if you want me to come down and present everything and give out scenarios, because alhamdulillah, I've got maybe 12 years of teaching experience, so I see all these issues on a day-to-day basis. And I've been teaching in madrasas as well across Northwest. So if you want me to come down, you can give me an invite and I will come down and have a half-day presentation where the teachers and volunteers are separately, and I can also guide the management how to have a hierarchy in place, system in place, and what procedures to put in place. Okay, so if you have this, bear with me, where we were before, let me go back to this document again. Everybody, as your sister was saying, that you don't need a certificate, sister. If you have this by every single individual who has had training from myself or has read the book, then that safeguards the institution to say, no, we've got this signed. Is that a clear answer?
Yes, thank you so much for that.
So obviously, as I was stating earlier, that we missed, lots of health and safety issues, risk assessment comes in there and all this, complaints and grievance handling, and also whistleblowing is in there. And somebody in power in an organization, if they act out of character, which is not suitable, how do we conduct ourselves? What is the best approach? So the book explains all that as well. Codes of conduct and review and monitoring, and staff training and management. And staff training management we've just spoken about a little bit. So as a child safeguarding officer, you must have something like this in place, where you have the names of all the people who are in contact with or can come in contact with the children or young people, and their roles and dates started, and have they got a DBS in place? Have they self-declaration signed? That was this form. This form. Have they signed this? Have they had the training? Do they need more support? And also a data review framework presented at AGM, at your local AGM, that is in place. So that was the whole child policies framework. It is quite lengthy, but I'm sure maybe I've written it and I'm just gloating about it, but it is a very easy read, I can promise you. And especially if your interest is children, it is a very, very compelling read. And coming back to the hierarchy, I would urge everybody here to make and have this hierarchy in place in your organizations, where we can not only, and I don't mean to be in a sinister kind of way, but we need to protect our organizations. And in protecting our organizations, what we are trying to do is protect Shiaism in place, because as you know, and you may be aware, may not be aware, everybody is out to get us, even within the Shia community as well. So that's another issue, we'll discuss that. And finally, please take my number if you have any questions, or you want to invite me through Brother Misam, or just contact me directly, and I'll happily schedule a date, maybe half a day, and I'll come down. I may require a cup of tea, but that's about it, or a cup of coffee. And I'll train everybody on this and give them scenarios that would, how would you say, engage their minds into thinking in regards to child safeguarding. But usually what happens is, we automatically, and this is actual correct thinking, that if something happened in my organization, I would happily give my life for a child, trying to save a child, and we would all do the same. But do we know the actual mechanisms? What happens if, as I gave the example of a child coughing constantly for 3 weeks, we can prevent that from, going any further. And there's obviously lots more science about this sign points to this abuse, this sign points to that abuse. And we can prevent, we can save lives, basically. This is what it's about. And Alhamdulillah, I finished. Brother Ali Jafri, are you taking notes? I finished well within my time frame. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer them to the best of my abilities. Sure. So I'm just going to share my contact details again, just so you can take it down.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Brother Jawwad, I just wanted to ask if we, in our organisation at Al-Zahra Foundation Nottingham, we have the madrasa and we have the youth leader who does things with the teens and the youth, and then we also have the trustees and lots of different I suppose leads in different departments. Would they all need to do the safeguarding training for this?
Yes. Just to give you an idea, and just let me stop this for a second. Just to give you an idea, if in a majlis, there's a majlis happening, and obviously even people from all walks of life have come to your premises, you may know them, you may not know them. anybody who is there as a representative of the organization needs to be trained into what to do if something happens. Just to give you an idea, we don't think twice about a child going to the bathroom during a majlis, but something can happen. God forbid, it happens, but something can happen. And just in case it happens, everybody should be equipped to pick up the signs, and especially the child safeguarding officer must know what to do immediately. Somebody can, make an allegation. Oh, I saw this. They may be from the same community, Shia community, and maybe from a different community. It's just about safeguarding, number one, the child's life, which is very important. And alhamdulillah, nothing like that happens. But it's also safeguarding the organization and the people within it. So just to give you an idea, if somebody was falsely accused, how would we deal with this? So everybody, even trustees, even though they may be 60 or 70 or 75 years old, they still need to take part in this, of how to deal with these little issues. And because they can be, number one, life-threatening to the child, or character-threatening to the individual who has been accused, especially if something's not happened.
Okay, thank you very much, brother. Inshallah, I'll contact.
Any further questions?
Jazakallah, brother Jawwad. One follow-up question. Obviously, with the new world under COVID conditions, we've gone through digital transformations within our Shia communities. Would your training and does the policy give us enough cover for online activities?
No, unfortunately, this policies, and they were outdated, as Sister pointed out. They were developed in 2017, and they've been available for you for 4 years now. And sorry, excuse me, let me just clear my throat. And since then, although I am very avid and keen in taking part in what's going on and what the changes are, I've not updated them. So there's two main concerns missing from this, which need to be updated. One is bullying, and the second is online teaching, and how do we make sure nothing is foul when we're teaching, when taking the madrasa online. So that needs to be addressed. You're absolutely right about that.
Jazakallah. Also, I just want to I want to thank you for going through that in quite a swift way, because you probably could have carried on for another 4 hours.
It is.
So it was quite an achievement to fit that in. And then your last point, or your previous point, around the fact that everyone needs to do this training or have the awareness. Completely agree. If it's rolled out across the whole organization, the chances of it being absorbed and being implemented are far higher. And that's the whole reason, right? So
yep, that's the number one reason is child safeguarding. And number two reason is institution safeguarding. Because if something does happen, we don't want the whole Shiaism or the Idara or the Shia Idara to be highlighted in the news and to be another, we have to run so many scenarios, so many possible, ifs and buts and can happen. So to stop all this, everybody should be made aware of all these policies and what to look out for. So just to give you one little example, if, as I was saying, that I attend your Idara, your organization in Reading, and somebody does not like the look of me, and they accuse me. Now we are at your premises. What will you do? What can you do? Even after I've gone, do they know I'm here? Who knew I was here? All possible scenarios. Also, all this must be taken into like a risk assessment. What can happen? What cannot happen? So, and with these policies in place and everybody understanding what these policies mean, we can better, number one, child safety is paramount, is so important. And it's not just, And we obviously, it's not physical, it's obviously mental as well. And these, how would you say, these mental breakdowns can burst out when they are 40, when they are 45. So this is something like psychologically, it is life-saving, to be honest, to help a child, to nourish a child, to make sure nothing bad happens. It's extremely important. And then the flip side of it is, because we are doing child safeguarding, means we are safeguarding the idara and organization, and in turn Shiaism in UK. Because as you know, Brother Siklan, everybody's out to get us. I'm not paranoid.
Yeah, no, I think we'll take that offline, that discussion.
Any further questions?
Just one point, the book that you referred to, or the safeguarding policy document, it is on the MUS online shop, but there's a bit of a pricing, there's a bit of a pricing error, so please don't buy it just yet.
Oh,
it may not be pricing error, so it may be the correct price, to be honest.
Just to give you an idea, when I was preparing this document, our counterparts from the other sect, Sunni sect, they were charging £4,000 per idara to make these policies for you. And we took the initiative and gave them out free. And for 4 years, nobody touched it. Nobody touched it. So maybe we should have priced them, and then maybe people would have taken it seriously. But it was no ifs or buts. I attended the seminars. I attended and I talked to them. It's a brother called Shaukat Waraich.
Yeah.
And it's the Faith Foundation.
Faith Associates.
Faith Associates. And they were charging £4,000 for these documents to be individually traded. Yeah, per organization. And I did all the hard work, and I gave them out free to all these guys, because
yes, it was massively discounted, brother. I agree, and probably that's why Brother Amr is thinking that probably it is now a bit higher, but it was
still worth it.
Almost nearly free in the beginning, and there is now a bit of price there. But let's leave that outside this session.
Yeah, of course.
Is there any
but
questions?
Within the price, if that could include my services, if Brother Misam and Brother Siklan and the MUS agree that within that price, I will go and give you your idara a complete half-a-day conversation and a presentation. Because the presentation that you saw today, there's 150 slides. The complete actual presentation, 150 slides. So I had to cut that short.
You said half day, about 4 or 5 hours training session.
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours, because also they're interactive. And where I would much rather prefer an interactive, where you give me scenarios, I give you scenarios, that gets the brains thinking. Somebody else may come up with something which we've not thought of, how to tackle this, how to deal with this, or something's happened in their experience, or historically something's happened and they want to bring that up. So this is a very interactive 4 or 5 hours, easy 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. Looks like there are no more questions. And it's 7 p.m.
On the dot, Brother Ali Jafri.
On the dot, yes. Thank you very much, Brother Jawwad. Thank you very much, Brother Ali Jafri, and everyone else who attended this. And hopefully it has been informative, interactive session for everyone. Inshallah, we will try to upload these on MUS YouTube channel soon. So have a good time, and Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Jazakallah.
Allah Hafiz.